This is WHTC in Holland. Time now for Talk of the Town, the program in which you, the listeners, participate with your telephone calls. Our Talk of the Town number, 395-1450. And our guest this morning is Mayor Kurt Dykstra. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Juke. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
And we have lots of things going on in the city, including sunshine. That's beautiful.
Yeah, something new, something different.
New, right.
And no snow and warming temperatures. Not warm temperatures, but warming temperatures.
Right. And you have a council meeting tonight. What's
We do.
Coming up there?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a light agenda, and in many ways it is, especially with we've got budget stuff coming up in the next few weeks, so this definitely seems lighter. But a couple of things we've got coming up. First, we're going to have to go into a special meeting to approve an emergency management plan, not like Detroit's emergency financial management plan. It's not one of those sort of things, but it's if there's an emergency declaration that happens, we have a tornado or some major event that happens, there's a plan that gets put in place, and it has to get updated occasionally. And it's pretty comprehensive, everything from public safety questions to utility questions to all sorts of things that have to be put in place, and you have to have a plan in place, and it needed to be updated. And perhaps, it's interesting reading, I suppose, if you want to look at that document to see what kind of planning gets put into place. The most interesting piece from my from my own standpoint is apparently there's some provision in state law that the mayor has to be designated the chief executive of the jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. Though technically that's not normally how we consider the mayoral role in a city like Holland. It's much more like chair of the board. But apparently there's some state provision that requires that the mayor be the chief executive, which essentially means the director of public safety or the police chief, the fire chief, will call Ryan, city manager, or me and say, here's the situation, and sort of we give the final okay on the declaration of the emergency.
I have a call here.
Good.
Does this plan have to mesh with the civil defense?
Good question. Honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of the actual writing of it. I've more reviewed it and edited it, sort of thing. So city staff has been the primary driver of the edits. But it meshes local with state officials and then beyond, and hopefully it sits on a shelf. Never
use it.
Well, yeah, not never. It'll be reviewed and training happens based upon it. But hopefully it never has to actually be put into effect. Now, one of the things is that we have what's called the Emergency Operations Center, which is in the police building on the corner of 8th and Pine, and that's gone into effect a few times, even a couple of times since I've been mayor. We had the big windstorm last year, was it? And of course the couple flooding events that happened a few years back, and other sorts of things. So the EOC has gone into effect and has been used, and as with anything, you do it and you learn what works well and you learn what can be improved, and the EOC as designed has been improved in the few times that we've used it to hopefully make it work better, work more smoothly, and the whole process work better. But again, you train for these things and plan for these things with the hope that you never have to actually do them.
Right. A little bit about the Wolverine pipeline. What's that all about?
Speaking of things that aren't in city control, we have part of the Wolverine natural gas pipeline that runs through parts of the city. It largely, the part I want to talk about comes on 24th Street, close to the West K7 building, runs further west till you hit Grafskip Road, then heads north to Grafskip to where it goes into Lake Mac and under the water. The Wolverine Gas Company controls or owns the pipeline and controls the right-of-way there. They have an easement over all of those properties to have their pipeline. And we have been informed that due to ongoing maintenance issues, trees and roots that grow into pipelines generally are not a good thing. And what they're doing, not just in Holland, not just in Ottawa County, but across the state, is they are clear-cutting all of those right-of-ways to remove all the vegetation, all the trees from those areas. So they're going to be coming into town in the next month or so, and we'll be doing some major cutting of any sort of trees that exist in their right-of-way on this pipeline. And again, it's not something the city is either doing or permitting. We have, it's their right-of-way. They have the easement to do this, the right to do this. But we want people to know about that because, quite frankly, you could see a fair amount of cutting activity happening, and it could... I'm expecting that it will somewhat change the landscape in that particular part of the city, and better for people to know about it ahead of time, who's doing it, the fact that they're authorized to do it by what rights they have in the property and in the easement, and so that way, we're trying to avoid as many calls after the fact as what we can, or during the fact, to let people know that this will be coming, this will be happening, and it's happening all across Michigan.
Probably not coinciding with tulip time.
Boy, offhand, I don't recall. I think it actually happens before tulip time, but I think once it starts to happen, people will notice it happening. It won't be one of those hidden kinds of things.
Okay. Thanks.